Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the committee, it's great to be with you this evening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come forward. I had to leave briefly because I have a 15-year-old daughter, so I'll be testifying in favor of Senate Bill 240 and also in support of SCR 42, but my comments will mainly be about Senate Bill 240 and my support. And I often testify as an attorney and as a lawyer, and I'll be doing that today as well, but it gives me great joy and the opportunity to fulfill my responsibility as a father, to know that just a few moments ago I was with my daughter and was able to come back here and testify on such an important piece of legislation. As a father of a teenage daughter, I've been in circumstances numerous times where I've seen her turn back and look at me as she walks into the restroom and wondering what she's going to discover. She's grown up in a time period where she's been surrounded by all these different issues that we're talking about today. And some people, their instinct when they see a man or a boy go into the girls' bathroom or the women's bathroom to stop and pause, because they're worried that someone is going to do something to them. They are going to be the ones that are going to face some punishment. Senate Bill 240 allows the accurate instinct for fathers like myself and others to trust that instinct. We need that in society. We need people that are willing to say, I don't think that this is right, and to step forward. But one of the ways to make sure that we have the ability to do that is to have a consistent state law on this issue. And that's what Senate Bill 240 does. Make no mistake that whether a local or state government body in the state of Texas has a written policy or not, they absolutely have a mode of operation on how they're handling these issues. So without a state law like this, it's not as if we're just going to let it be and everything's going to be okay. This issue is going to be dealt with from one side or the other. Odessa City Council was one of the city councils that recently passed a law making it clear they're not going to let men and boys go into the girls' bathrooms. But Round Rock ISD did not go in that direction. They never voted on their policy at Round Rock ISD. They had what we call as a shadow policy. The members of their staff, they knew what the policy was. They knew how they operated on these issues. They just never bothered to tell any of the parents. And in one of the circumstances, they allowed a male student who was on a competitive band to undress in the girls' bathroom and locker room. They never told any of the parents, particularly a client that we represented who's asked to remain confidential. You know what the solution was for Round Rock ISD on how to make sure that, the girls didn't feel uncomfortable, because that's where their focus was? They told this young lady, put a pop-up tent around you somewhere in the middle of the locker room. What even is that? And even if that exists, does that amount to some level of privacy? She was so humiliated and devastated by the way she was treated. In this circumstance, she was going home almost every single day before changing to be a part of this competitive band. Not only that, they were allowing this male student to travel with the girls and be in a hotel room with female students without ever telling the parents ahead of time. I can't imagine what it was like to hear some of those words. And I know that Brooke Slusser testified earlier, and I did get to hear her testimony. I think one of the things that she may not have mentioned, she had a lot of great things to say, but something that stuck with me when she testified in a court hearing 2 weeks ago on this issue. The male student that was involved in that deception of being able to be a player on the women's team and also be in their locker room for close to a year was using a tuck kit. You know what that is? That's a certain device and things that men use to disguise their genitalia. He knew that he was deceiving people. He knew that he was going into these women's spaces and lying to people, because if we would have found out, he never would have been allowed, and people would have not have tolerated it. Somebody surely would have said something. He wouldn't have gotten away with it. It would have been harder for him to. So to hear Brooke testify about that, the way she found out that there was a male athlete on her team, was they were in a hotel room together, and she walked into the bathroom and stumbled across his backpack, and there was the tuck kit. That's how she found out that there was a male athlete on her women's team, and she was sharing a bathroom and a hotel room for close to a year in an apartment. This is what some people think about women and young girls in society today. I was taught in law school as a 20-year lawyer who's litigated these issues. By the way, the Bostock case that was referenced earlier does not speak to this issue. The Supreme Court has not gotten involved, and the lower courts have largely been in our favor. I was taught in law school, the law is a teacher. We say something to our young ladies and to all of society about what we say is legal and not. I was here in 2017. I was in Houston in 2015 when this issue was dealt with. The culture knew then, but they certainly have spoken loudly now about how simple but important this issue is. Mr. Chairman, you know I've been involved in this work for 20 years, if not more. There's very few pieces of legislation that I've been involved in that are as important and foundational as Senate Bill 240. That's why as soon as that high school cheerleading parent meeting was over earlier this evening, I got right back in my car and drove back here to address this committee. Make no mistake, this is one of the most important bills that you need to pass this session. The House needs to pass, and Governor Abbott has already made it clear he's ready to sign this bill. Thank you very much.